Greetings, hello, and welcome everyone. Welcome to DevChatter. As I'm sure many of you know, my name is Brendan. This channel here is DevChatter. It encompasses all of us because it really is about our discussion and all the cool stuff that we're going to do. Welcome. I see Coated Beard, Kepper Leet, Afrohack, Zunjin. Greetings, hello, welcome. We are about to go live and talk about stuff. So, stream for today. It's a Thursday. We are running a little bit late for a Thursday, but you gotta remember Thursdays we start earlier than our other days. For those of you that don't know, DevChatter streams usually on 4 times a week on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Usually it's about the same time. On Mondays and Tuesdays, we start at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, which is Eastern Time in the US, obviously. And on Thursdays, we start at about noon usually, although we're starting almost an hour late. And on Saturdays, we start at about 1 o'clock Eastern US Time. That's 1900, 1700, and 1800 UTC on all those corresponding days. And if you didn't keep track of everything I just said, you could just, put in, schedule and where you happen to live, roughly speaking. As long as it gets in the same time zone you're in, it should give you the correct time on there. And if not, well, then I apologize because it didn't work right. You can also find information about the stream down below. I will tell everyone a little bit about the project we are working on here. As many of you know already, everything we do here on the stream is open source. All the projects we work on, at least. And you can find all that code at github.com/devchatter. So that's actually where this project lives. I will go ahead and click on that link. And it opened in the wrong browser. So I will just show you, roughly speaking, where that link goes. That link will take you here. If you click on the DevStreams project, that will get you to the project we are currently working on. And this project is an interesting one. Essentially, we're trying to build a community site for the developer streaming community, because we understand that, well, as developer streamers and the community around the developer streaming, code streaming, whatever you want to call it, we think it would be good to have a place for us all to go and find information about other streamers, find when they're streaming, find out which content they're doing and things like that. I think it will be useful. Just to have. So, as I said, we do take contributions, so I'm going to take a look at this one right now from Zunjin, who is here in the chat, so congratulations, you are here for your code review. I used to do more of these, but haven't lately. Okay, so let's take a look. So, this is adding cookie policy information, so looks like adding a little bit of information to our privacy CSHTML page, good, and adjusting our cookie consent partial so that it's less generic and is basically just directing you towards the privacy policy, I think. Okay, so this is suggesting to click on the Learn More, which is going to be right below it, and that's going to take you to the privacy page. Okay. Makes sense. So here in DevChatter, we're committed to safeguarding with our Dino squad, the privacy of our I would leave off the word streamers there, but other than that one, I do like this piece. There's one adjustment I want to make. Perhaps let's see. Should we put this image on the site instead of referencing the Discord CDN, since we don't control that. So if that ever got deleted off of Discord, I wouldn't want that image to go away. So let's put that in there. Let's see. Yeah, don't worry about it, Zunjin. Overall, I think it's good. I like what you're doing with it. So, all right. So there's our main piece, and then we mentioned cookies. So the section in cookies. A cookie is a file containing an identifier, a string of letters and numbers. The central web service. Cookies labeled as auth cookie and theme choice cookie is explained below. Auth cookie keeps you logged into our platform so you don't have to turn your credentials every time there. It's not accessing DevChatter, it's accessing every time you maybe something like that. Let's see, the theme choice keeps the info about which theme you have chosen before, so every time in yep. So we're just going to put this in to site, or something like that. If you still have questions about the matter, join us in our Discord server. Yep, that's our permalink to the Discord, and we will gladly answer them with our Ninja Cat help. Let's avoid the Ninja Cat only because we don't have the rights to that image. I'd just leave this image out since we don't have the rights to it. Alright, and then I already looked at that part. Okay, cool. So I'm going to request a couple of small tweaks to the text requested. Alright, awesome. Overall good, but once those tweaks are in, we will merge that in, and it will be awesome. Yeah, so the Ninja Cat, I don't know who owns the Ninja Cat. I don't know who has the right to. Well, first off, Ninja Cat, it's a thing, but I guess it's yeah. So I'm assuming it's one of these Ninja Cats, which is probably then a Microsoft one. Oh, it's probably that Ninja Cat, I bet, and that I believe is owned by Microsoft. So maybe we can get away with it. We're not totally Microsoft centric, so. Anyway, Plutonin, hey, greetings. S&B, welcome. Stoolpenner, hi, hi, hi. Love seeing everybody showing up in the chat. Greetings, welcome. All good, Zunjin. No, that's awesome stuff. Really appreciate it. Mitch, welcome. Wait, what is this? You need more coins to play. Oh, and yeah, yep, sorry Mitch, you hang out for a little bit and it will definitely let you hop into a game of rock, paper, scissors, because you will earn coins just by being here, and then you'll be able to play the fun games as well. Alright, so today, what we are planning on working, now that we've reviewed that pull request, it is definitely time to take a look at some code. So what I want to do today, first off, we're going to make a new branch for this one. I'm not going to create it just yet, but I will create that new branch. So step one, I'm going to add in a new project. So this is a big thing for people because we have not added a lot of new projects. I'm actually waiting on one of our viewers that was going to add a couple of new projects, but I'm going to add this one because I don't think it's going to make a huge impact. So here's what we're going to call it. So first off, I want to point out a couple of decisions we're making here. This is going root level of our solution, so it's going in the same source directory that all of our other projects are in. The next thing I'm doing here is, obviously I'm doing a C# project. It's not .NET Core. I'm going to try to do .NET Standard. And I recommend you do this as well. If you're making a class library, make it .NET Standard if you can, even if you think your project is always going to be on .NET Core. Now, the reason I mention this is it is possible at some point you may need to make a .NET Framework project for some reason, for some dependency, for something like that, and if you can get away with a .NET Standard project, do it. And somewhere I have a video that was explaining the difference between .NET Core, Standard, and Full Framework, and I recommend that everyone check that out because it is a big thing. If you can support .NET Standard, do it, because then it works for Core and Full Framework projects. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to say devchatter.devstreams.infra. So this is a convention I use. Not everybody uses the same convention, but I like this one. So I do like having everything be the same name. And I'm typing this out now. I'm not actually going to hit enter on this, but I do devchatter.devstreams.infra, and this gets me essentially what my namespace of this project is going to be. And the infra little piece that I put in there is my hint that this is some kind of infrastructure concern. So this is the kind of thing that... Gareth, hey, welcome. 5-month streak, nice. Hype, hype, hype. Ah, S&B's on the ball. Thanks, S&B. So the idea is that I want all the infrastructure concerns, all the things that are the big dependencies, the big obvious dependencies, to have this. Afrohack, I don't usually do the reverse domain concept all the time. I usually go more from the like business aspect of like ownership rather than site associated. So essentially my domain name, instead of just doing DevStreams, I started with DevChatter because it's a DevChatter project, although I'm always good with adjusting those as needed. However, I do like doing the infra piece on there, and that gives me the hint that this is an infrastructure concern of some kind. So there's a handful of infrastructure concerns, and the one that we're going to add in today is going to get a little bit of hype from the chat. So I'm going to go ahead and just type in the name without speaking it, so if they're not actually listening, they'll actually have to look at the screen. If they're only listening, they'll have to look at the screen because I'm trolling a handful of people by doing that. So that's the change that I'm going to make. And, oh, I said I wasn't going to hit enter, and then I hit enter. Hey, there's S&B, see? So here's what I'm going to do. First off, I am going to open this folder in File Explorer because I want to check something. Okay. Here's what I wanted to check. Before I hit enter, I wanted to do this. Turns out it was okay that I hit enter, but I wanted to look at this first. So what I wanted to check was, I couldn't remember when I did my projects. Hey, Coated Beard! Coming in with 8 months of Twitch Prime. Although I'm guessing you missed a month in there, because I thought it mentioned streaks usually. But yes, that's awesome. 8 months. That's almost on to the 9-month one. The Twitch baby. Nice, Coated Beard. Yeah, getting it to announce the thing. Anyway, so what I wanted to check was this. Sometimes when I do the folders, what I'll do is this. I'll name the folders just core and web and things like that. And if I had done that, then this one would be called infra Dapper, right? And I would put it in those folders. But since this project I did the full names on the folders, I'm going to stick with that convention and not change off of it. So we're going to leave it this way, and it'll be like that. So it turns out my hitting enter early was totally fine. Okay. So there we go. Class 1, I don't need you. I will replace you with something better later. Hey, that's the answer number of biddies there. 42. Hype, hype, and welcome. Okay, so that's the convention that I like to use for this. The first thing I want to do here is I need to add in a reference. Now, I'm going to warn all of you that while I used Dapper in the past and loved it and have been wanting to use it, I now haven't used it in a few years. So in case it's changed, I am actually just going to reference the documentation. Which, for anyone that doesn't know, referencing the documentation is literally what all professional developers do all the time. So never feel bad about that. We all read the documentation, we all check forums, we all check Stack Overflow, we all Google for articles. Seriously, every developer does that all the time, I promise you. Anyway, Mitch has an awesome question. What is Dapper? It is an awesome question because it's surprisingly hard to answer. So I would call it a micro ORM. And some people don't like giving it the term ORM, which is why I definitely want to call it a micro ORM. And the idea is that it's a lightweight ORM. So it's a way of accessing data and doing the mapping of that data into your objects. And it connects to a relational database. But it doesn't totally do everything that an ORM usually does. It skips a few pieces. And so it ends up a little bit more lightweight as a result. So it's kind of like, so think Entity Framework, but without as many bells and whistles. No, Zunjin, we're still using EF Core also. So we're going to add this in, and for now we're going to leave the EF Core stuff there because our authentication does still go through that. But we were talking about using Dapper for this project, simply because we use EF Core for all of our other ones. So for Dapper, the best selling point I can give for you is telling you where it came from for its usefulness. There's a small website that uses it that I'm not, you guys may have heard of, I don't know. They're called Stack something, Stack Overflow, I think. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that. Anyway, so it's actually the ORM that was built by the Stack Overflow team, and they use it internally. I think they're the ones that built it. But either way, I know they use it on Stack Exchange. So yeah, only a minor bit of sarcasm there. I would say Dapper does 10% of EF, but sometimes it's the 10% you need. Yes. Yeah, so there are a couple of points where you will definitely miss having a full ORM if you're using a micro ORM. All these tools do things better and worse than the others. That's really how it works with everything. So it's all a trade-off. But I want to show you this because I think it's cool, I like it, and you may not have used it before. So let's go ahead and make my branch, spelled correctly. And I'm just going to call this Dapper. Because we're adding in a Dapper project. We're going to branch off the master branch. So this adds in a CS_proj file that's netstandard 2, references our core project, and that's been updated in our solution as well. So that's pretty much all we need. Alright. That, I would say, is probably worth a commit, so we're going to do a local commit for that. Adding Dapper project. Okay, so once I've done that, so some people, I should mention, when they break out their infrastructure stuff, they will make a like a DB project or something like that, an infrastructure database. I don't do that only because I like going specifically to what tech it is you're using. Hey, Wheelspin, welcome! I haven't seen you in a while. And greetings, Silent TV 22. And Fishing Dev, hey, and Plutonin, and Gareth, and hey, Phil, welcome. See a lot of people saying hi. Might as well say hi to everyone that shows up and says hi. Manage NuGet packages. Let's manage NuGet packages for the solution. I don't think anyone has done this in a little while. No. We're not getting rid of EF yet. We may get rid of it, but we certainly haven't yet. So we have two things that need updating, which are just those. Okay, I don't feel bad about those. So we're going to hop over here to Browse, and we're going to look for Dapper. And for now, I am just going to add in Dapper to our Dapper project and see if I can get away with not putting it in the web project just yet. We might have to put it in there anyway. And we'll go with latest stable version, which should be good. Hey, Root Guy, welcome, greetings. Yeah, no. As I said, I've said this to a lot of people. I like EF. It's good. What's this wanting to pull in? All of that stuff. Yeah, I'm not gonna deal with that. Alright, you all win. Let's do this. Oh, that was actually Net Standard project also. Okay, well, that's what it is then. Alright, yep, you can come in. That's more things than I wanted to agree to let into the project, but meh. You do what you gotta do. Build. Yes, Fuel Snable, I do think we're going to run them at the same time. In fact, if we don't get rid of identity, we will still be running EF for some of those aspects as well. You've been stuck on Stack Overflow asking a ton of questions nobody ever thought of asking. Well, yeah, that happens sometimes, Wheel Spin, and then you got to hope you actually get answers on this. Yeah, no problem. No need to ever respond. Greetings. Yeah, if I say something to you and you're not standing by the computer, don't feel bad. I will assume that you are either gone or standing too far away. But either way is good. Is this chat still breakable? Wheelspin, I have no idea, but it's not really the chat that's breakable. It's just the display that Streamlabs uses over there on the side. Oh yeah, Fuel Snable. That is a way to break the internet right there. Okay, so we should have access to Dapper. We have a reference to our core project. And now I want to do this. This project needs to have a reference because this is also doing our IOC. We're not doing a fancy trick to get that to happen at runtime only, like a runtime wire-up. There's some ways that you can just reference the assembly and avoid a compile time loop, but have a runtime accessible. Essentially, you have a loop at runtime. The direction of dependencies at compile time and the direction of dependencies at runtime can actually differ. I'm not planning on showing that today. Hey Simon, greetings. Instead, all we're going to do is just reference this directly and have all of our IOC wire-up continue to happen in the web project, and we will just be careful not to directly reference our infrastructure project. There's nothing reporting on my end, Phishing Dev, but the video could be lagging a little bit somewhere. Well, that is hilarious, since Phishing Dev is like, you know, not very far away from me, and yet the internet apparently is good to the UK, but not like, you know, I don't know, 30, 40 miles north or something. Although I said miles, so half of the people in this chat don't even know how far I'm talking about. Well, welcome to the world, where we have all kinds of measurements and fun. Let's get rid of that. I don't need that open. Alright, so here's what I wanted to do. So I want to make this change, and I want to do it small. So whenever you're making a change, especially when you're changing infrastructure, things like that, start small. Think, what place can I put this in that will have the smallest impact? And that's how you can get the footprint started. Once you get it started, then that gives you the chance to get a whole vertical slice in there. So right now, we have Dapper included, but it doesn't in any way access the database. So we need to come up with which one's the shortest way to do that. So we could look at tags, potentially. Tags is a very, very simple controller that accesses a little bit of data. And if we wire this controller up, which is just pulling tag information for read-only, we can have data coming through Dapper. So that'd work great. So this, I think, is our starting point. We'll be a bit less interactive in chat tonight as... Oh, nice. Fishing Dev, I have no idea who Miles is. You looked at EF core code a little. Oh yeah, the query syntax of link. No one really uses that. Pretty much everybody just uses the dot notation in the extension methods. Much better filtering. Yeah, no kidding. Our filtering's not getting any better right now, though, so... here's what we're going to do. So, simple case for adding in Dapper. We need to do a query. We're going to need to have the type. At the point of this controller, I can directly put in the dependence. I cannot put in Dapper, but I can reference something from the Dapper library. So we need to come up with what we want to give us this data. So I'm going to call it the tag search service, maybe. And the reason I'm calling it tag search service is because it can become more advanced than just a simple text lookup, which is what we're going to do now, where it's an exact match. So something like this. We're going to create the tag search service. Now this is clearly an interface name, which means this goes in our core project. So there's our iTag search service. There we go. And the next thing we need to do is wire this up in our startup. I'm just going to go ahead and tell this. So we're still using the base IOC. Let's add a transient iTag search service, and I'm going to make these names match. It's going to wire up to one of these automatically. Now again, this class doesn't exist, so I'm going to go ahead and create it. And don't worry about that not being in a folder yet. I just want to get everything compiling first, and then we'll move it to a better spot and fix the namespace and everything like that. Why does this not like it? Oh, because it's not using that one yet. Derp. Derp. There we go. Now it should all be happy. So that's happy. Red squiggle's gone. So we're wired up to our IOC. And we've defined that this class exists. And lastly, it's getting pulled in here. So I would like to point out to everyone, I have not done anything. We are not using Dapper. We're not referencing that. We're not doing anything. All we're going to do right now is go ahead and run the site. And actually, you know what? I'm going to run the site over here. So I'm actually going to run the project here. So I'm actually running VS Code and Visual Studio. I kind of switch between the two. I'm a little weird like that. I like both, so I use both. So I'm going to jump over here onto the site. Here we are. And if I go to the calendar page, this uses the tag search. There it is. Tag search still working. So perfect. We have not altered that. That means that controller's running. It can be called. It's active. And that actually is there. So what changed architecturally on this project? Thought it was using EF Core. It still is using EF Core. We have not gotten rid of that yet. We are adding Dapper. And this is the change. So this is how we're going to get there. So essentially what I did is I added this in. I know this reference is getting in here. So we are getting this class because it was able to build and use this, but we're not doing anything with it yet. So let's go ahead and save this piece right there. So now we have access to this service when this is running. So let's go ahead and call it. And this is the point when I want to define what method I want on there. And before I go any further, I am going to go to our GitHub because I want to check out our issues list because I forget who claimed this one. Simon, you're here. You're here right now. Are we? Do you have a pull request like ready to go that adds in a unit test project? If not, I might just add one in. So I should just add one? Simon? Alright, sounds good. I will go ahead and just add a quick project. No problem. Totally happens. I just don't want to add one in if you're like, no, I've got that built. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to add our next project. We need a unit test project on here, and this is the ideal time to do it, as we're actually starting to add in some dependencies that this makes sense for. So we're going to call this... Ooh, do I want to put this in a test folder? No, we're not going to. So we're going to say DevChatter, DevStreams, unit tests. This will be our basic unit test project. We're going to do it. I guess we'll do XUnit. Doesn't really matter whether it's XUnit or NUnit. They work pretty much the same. This is just a slightly different syntax if you're not used to it. And then we're going to add a quick reference. Oops, a NuGet package reference. And the package we're going to add is called Fluent Assertions. I love how my search, of course, has that. It's one of the most common things that I search for. I absolutely love Fluent Assertions. It is great. It'll change the way you write unit tests. So if you've ever heard people talk about wanting to have unit tests that are more expressive and things like that, you know, getting closer to the behavior concept, those you know, like the big long words where it's spoken, Fluent Assertions helps you get to that. Alright, so unit test 1, that's a terrible name. I want to get this piece wired up. So I want something on this service. So this is the iTag search service. I'm going to steal that name for now, and I'm going to make a folder. We're going to call this services, and then we're going to say folder iTag search service tests. So I'm going to make a folder for tests that have to do with this class, we'll say. And then any tests we put in there will be broken up into their own file. So I'm going to move this project into this. It's going to need its namespace fixed. This class here, I should say. So this is going to be services, and this is going to be tag search service tests. What's that complaining about? Oh, okay, it's not complaining now. I don't know the name of that yet, and I don't know the name of this yet. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to add a reference both to the Dapper project and to the core project because we're testing this piece, I think. And we'll see how this wires up. Oh, yeah, so Simon, yes, exactly. All the time zone pieces, because of how custom those are, it would be weird to AutoMapper that. When someone had first suggested using AutoMapper for that... oh, thanks, Mitch. I will fix that in a second. Services. It was funny because the person chimed in and said something along the lines of, "Oh, actually, with how much this is going to be, there's going to be so much customization in AutoMapper that it's probably just easier to do it in here." But as you do more mappings, that definitely does change. Okay, test 1. It's a terrible name, but that's fine. Let's create a new tag search service. We're just going to make one of these for now. I don't know necessarily what it's going to depend on, or what we're even going to test on this. Heck, maybe we could even integration test this at some point instead of testing it. Voight, yeah, there's definitely some things that there's some things that AutoMapper I think is really good for. And you know what? Before I do this, I created these pieces. I want to commit this on its own first. I just realized before I go any further with that. And I actually want to change a thing before I do that. And of course I built, so now I have to wait for the build to finish. Oh, and it can't copy the project because the site's running. Yep, I'll get that in a sec. Where's my references? Dependencies, add reference, remove this reference. I didn't mean to do that. Site, go ahead and stop, please. There we go. Alright, now it can build. Now you can run again. Alright, so let's do that. Commit. Don't commit that. Don't commit that. Don't commit. Commit that one. Don't commit this one, or this one. There we go. So these two pieces are a separate thing. This is adding the unit test project, which maybe I should do in the master instead of doing here. Yeah, we're going to do that real fast. So here's what we're going to do. Hey, Ancient Coder, welcome. Greetings. Streams. We're gonna do a. I'm actually just gonna discard these two changes. And I'm gonna build here. Hang on. Streams project. Open there. There's the unit test project. Goodbye. Okay. No more unit test project. Alright, so there's what we've got. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a get stash -u. And then that, essentially what that says is, it says take my working directory, take everything out, take all my changes, including the ones that I haven't versioned, go ahead and save those right where I am. So when I click over here, you'll see those changes are gone. And then the next thing, and Ancient Coder, I'll get to you in a sec. I saw your question. I want to check out the master branch. Now I'm going to check out a new branch, and we're going to call this unit test. And yes, I am going to make a simple branch just to do this, and the reason I'm doing this is I want that unit test project to exist for everyone, even if I don't get my Dapper branch merged in. So that's why I need to temporarily abandon my Dapper branch. I'm going to do this one, and then I'm going to merge this in. I'm probably going to have a conflict in my solution file, maybe. We'll see, which I'll fix, and you'll all get to watch that as well. So we should be on a new branch. There we are. We're on our unit test project branch. And this, I was hoping would reload, but didn't. Why didn't that reload? Ah, okay, so just the in-memory version didn't reload. I don't know why Visual Studio didn't reload that, but it didn't. Okay, so here's what we want to do. We're going to add in this project. So add, nope, don't add an existing project, get out of here. Add a new project. X units. DevChatter.devstreams.unit tests. In that folder. And once we get this, I'm going to go ahead and manage a NuGet package, and it is going to be fluent assertions, which we will install, like so. So that gets us fluent assertions and xunit, and I'm going to delete the initial unit test from there. This did not totally load, did it? Shut down the site, rebuild. We're going to want to check out GitHub Desktop and make sure nothing weird is going on here. Okay, so looks like what we've got, this is renumbering our DevStreams core project. So you'll notice its ID changed here. No, its ID was given to that one? I don't know how that works. I am so confused by a lot of what they do in these things. That doesn't make sense to me. But either way, that is just the core project with a line change and unit tests, and then these projects down here. Let's see, so that was the creation of a new project. This is a .NET Core 2.1, and remember, so I've talked about the difference between .NET Core, .NET Full Framework, and .NET Standard. A running application is always running as either .NET Core or .NET Framework, or one of the other choices, obviously. Running applications are not running as .NET Standard. So because a unit test is executable on its own, it has to be .NET Core, and that means that it can depend on a .NET Standard library or a .NET Core library. So just want to clarify that one, in case anyone was wondering what that is. Plutona, does anyone have a good book to suggest for beginners to structure, how to structure an ASP.NET Core project? A book about structuring specifically? I don't know. And S&B is correct. Check out anything by, well, I was gonna, I'll say the stream's good friend Ardalis. Ardalis is an awesome guy, good friend of mine. He does a lot of stuff about structuring projects. I forget who it was. Someone early on in my streaming showed up one time and was like, "Hey, I was watching this video on like architecting things by Steve Smith. He's the same." Like it was this question. I was like, "He does the same stuff as you," and I'm like, "Well, Steve and I worked together at the same companies for like 8 years, structuring the same projects. So yes, Steve and I worked closely for the better part of a decade. We build things very similarly at this point. So if you like my structure, you'll like Steve's structure. If you like Steve's, you'll like mine. We don't match exactly, but we're pretty close. Okay, so that'll create that project. Adding unit test project. And I might do the sanity test on this, actually. So let's take a look at that. .NET Core is to standard as implementation is to interface. Yes, exactly. So if Gareth, it's possible that you saw my my streams a long time ago where I was explaining .NET Standard to people, and the analogy I gave is that same one, is that you can think of .NET Standard as kind of being like an interface, and an interface can have multiple implementations, so the class or the implementation can be either .NET Core or .NET Framework. Stream Deck hype. Alright, so unit test project. Let's add our sanity test here. We're going to call this the sanity test. This will be a fact. Yep, an xunit fact. Public void true should we'll just say true should be true. Constable true. Truth equals true. Truth should be true. There is our sanity check, and if we run this, this is the verification that tests run at all. If this test is ever failing, that means your tests aren't working. Stolly, hello, welcome, greetings. Andre, greetings, welcome. Glad to see people saying hi in chat. Okay, so that is adding the sanity test. That just confirms that tests run. We're going to go ahead and push that commit up to GitHub. And that is such a small change, I am actually just going to rush that one through. So we're going to compare and pull request this. Adding unit tests project. And the reason I want to shove this one through so quickly is that once you have the project, it's really easy for people to collaborate on it. So if someone adds a folder full of tests, that's totally fine. You can do that, no problem. But until that project exists, no two people can create it. Even though they're going to create the same thing, it'll be a merge conflict pain in the rear. And we don't want that. So we're going to go ahead and create this. I'm going to do a quick review of this before we merge it in. Always at least look just to make sure you didn't really mess something up. But here we have basic project. It's a Netcore 2.1. It has a reference to Fluent Assertions, the Test SDK, XUnit, and the Visual Studio XUnit runner. That's totally fine. I am okay with those. This is a sanity check. It looks fine to me. That test name is fine. It says sanity test. Truth should be truth. That's definitely going to pass every time. And then the last thing was this confusing thing. We have four builds, I should say, created for the two projects here, one of which is a new one, and one it altered for some reason that I'm not sure why it edited that, but I don't care too much. It didn't change a lot about it. It looks like a GUID maybe changed, but who am I to say? I'm going to look at chat before I merge just in case someone's yelling at me that I missed something. Hey, bud. Greetings. Welcome. Thank you for that follow. Much appreciated. And we're going to go ahead and merge that in. So, boom. Merged in, delete the branch, and now is when we get to the tricky part. So that's in there. That was simple. So the next thing we need to do is this. Git checkout master. So once I've checked out master, I'm going to go ahead and pull down those changes. So we're now in an up-to-date master. And then the last thing we need to do is switch back to our Dapper branch, which I have now done. So if I check over here, I'm back on our Dapper branch, and I want to do something. I'm going to rebase onto master again. So we were actually on the original master. So the base of this branch was the master branch a couple of commits ago. But if you think of branches like pointers, the master pointer is pointing to a different location now. So rebasing onto it now is actually just going to update to the new base, is essentially the idea. So we're going to replay our changes, but play them again from a different point and check to make sure along the way that there are no conflicts. There may be, but we'll see. So we're going to rebase onto master, just like this. Pizza. Okay, so it ran into a conflict in the solution file. We thought that might happen because we did add a new project. So let's take a look at what happened. I think this actually does pretty well for that. Yeah, it does. There we go. That's nice. Okay, so here's what we got. Let's hide that so we have a little more space. And do I want a word wrap? I'm going to turn it on for now and we'll see what happens. Okay, so in this case, what happened is both projects added their new, both of these change sets, both the Dapper branch, the adding of a Dapper project and the adding of a unit test project, added the project declaration in the same place. So it is seeing this as a conflict even though it is not. So I'm actually just going to nuke that. So that is not a conflict. Up here, again, the unit test project, the Dapper project, both got added in. I'm just going to do a quick... I believe I could just tell it to keep both like manually, but I'm just going to delete these pieces because I just want to keep both. There's one trick, however. You'll notice I'm missing an end project because of the way that Git detected those changes when we were looking at this. Let me show you that because this is a cool thing for anyone that hasn't seen this before. When I added this project, look at what happened in the solution. And I apologize for this being kind of small, but here's the thing. In our project, notice it detected that project changed. So this line changed, and it tells us about that. It then says that I added in the end project here, but I didn't. Because that's really this. I added this one, right? I added line 10 and 11, but because it was identical down here, the one before, it thinks I added this one. And so that's the weird part, is triggering this. So Git has a little bit of a misunderstanding, and this could throw you off if you just said accept both. And I want to point that out, because it is important. This is why every once in a while a human needs to look, is because our source control doesn't always detect what the real change was. So that's fixed now that I've added in the correct end project there. Okay, so added in. And we need to tell it now that those changes are in there and good. So what we do is we say, we need to say add, and we want to say, whoops, I'm in this folder. So source, why is that not, you know what? Hang on. I don't like that shell. I want a nicer shell. We're gonna get ourselves a nicer shell. There we go, nicer shell. So we're gonna add in our, there we go. So that file is now committed, and now we should be able to do a git rebase -- continue, and that should get us to our next step. So remember, the first commit that we made was the creation of the project, and what that means is when we do our rebase, that first commit is where it runs into the conflict. Once we have resolved the conflict, which we just did, then the rebase can continue, and you'll notice it applied. It applies then our changes and says, "Hey, you're done." So if we added a bunch of other changes on there, we would be good. Next step. Remember, at the beginning of this, we stashed our changes, and I did a stash U, so it grabbed the unversioned file as well. I can now say git stash pop, and that will then give me back the changes that we had saved. So there we go. Oh, I actually ran it anyway. But we should have all of our changes. Everything should be back to normal. And let me go ahead and pull GitHub Desktop so you can all see that. We're going to go back to the changes, and there they are. There's the startup we created. There's the web project. And you'll notice we do have our unit test project. It came in from master. So I just wanted to point out how that's not a very difficult thing. It's pretty easy to do. Hey, Forgotten One, 86, greetings, welcome. We haven't forgotten about you yet. Chat got away from me. What's going on? Blazer Workshop now, where you make blazing pizza. Oh, cool. I didn't look at the workshop, Janisco. I will have to check it out. Stolly, you got the solution for me. Fast forward? No. Diff is really odd with stuff like that. Yes, exactly. With pieces like XML and other formats where you've got those repeating end bits, it can get confused. A lot of times they'll get confused about curly braces as well. So that's actually the real thing you need to watch for. Is those types of structures. So that's why developers are still involved here. Obviously, these tools do a lot of stuff for us. Humans are the ones that can figure out those little pieces. We're better at that. Rage HQ, welcome. Thanks for that follow, much appreciated. Hype. Did you see the game The Isle? No, Ace Flames here. I don't know what game you're talking about. But welcome everyone. Glad you're all here. If you don't know, this channel is DevChatter. My name's Brendan. I host the channel. We have a number of guests frequently here. We do a lot of open source projects, including this one. When our bot's running, my Stream Deck works for sending out stuff. I don't know why it's being dumb right now, but it is. So apologies on that one. But welcome, greetings. We are a community of developers that are interested in doing fun live coding and things like that. Always good stuff. People are welcome. If you want to chat with us, the best place to do that is to join our Discord. You can find links to that down below. I'll toss them in chat as soon as our bot is up and running again. And then lastly, if you are someone who's interested in seeing any of the source code that we do here on any of our projects on the stream, the best place to do that is to head out to our GitHub at github.com/devchatter. And the bot's back in here, so link to our GitHub and link to our Discord. So greetings and welcome. No one understands CSS. Daycoder. Hey, greetings. You're getting into programming and web development. Your problem is you understand Java and HTML, but CSS is a whole other story. Yeah, so you've probably noticed that HTML and JavaScript are totally unrelated and work very differently. CSS also works differently. One of the best suggestions I can make for learning more about CSS is dig in with your with these tools. Try making changes and really play around with it a lot and just see what happens. I don't know which aspects of CSS you're not understanding, but it works really differently than JavaScript and HTML. So don't get yourself down about that one. It's a completely different way of thinking. There are also, I remember long time ago, I don't know if it still exists, but this was one of my favorite things for getting a grasp of CSS and actually understanding it, was this website long time ago I thought was awesome. The CSS Zen Garden was basically a website that was designed to show you that with a simple set of HTML, by just modifying the CSS, the like ridiculously amazing things you could do with it. So the idea is that everything had the same content, but all the sites were completely different. So the HTML is always the same, but the CSS is all that's changing. So that's what's so neat, is that you're just looking at the same site with just different designs on it. So really cool. That's one of my favorite things. You can look through it. Some of it's super complicated, so I wouldn't try to learn from that. But that might help impress upon you the idea that CSS is this brilliant, amazing thing that if you can learn how to use it, you can do really cool stuff with it. And it gives you the understanding of just the power of CSS alone. Because that's what's neat about it, is all those changes, all those different sites, only difference is the CSS. And that's crazy. I mean, obviously they're referencing different assets and images and things like that, but you know, that's a CSS file that decides which images you're showing, so it makes sense. It's very cool. There are probably some good tutorials. The challenge is, without knowing what it is you're stuck on, it's hard to say what the challenge is there, because everybody learns things a little differently, so find a video course you like, find articles you like where the explanations of the person make sense, and just try playing with stuff. So, and I swear it's not rigged, whatever it is you guys think is rigged. Yeah, so anyway, hopefully that gives you some direction. Really, the best answer for all this stuff is just keep at it, keep working on it. It'll make more sense in time. Why? Oh. Well, that's weird. Huh. One sec. Oh yeah, the Mozilla Dev stuff is really good. If you want to learn about anything web, that is really true, Zunjin. Is positioning. Yeah, Decoder, in that case, congratulations and welcome. You're hitting the you're hitting the challenge that almost everybody runs into. But yes, check out the dev tools that are in your browser. That'll help. The MDN suggestion from Zunjin is a very good one. If you haven't been there, that really is a huge help with all stuff web. The Mozilla docs stuff. So if you haven't taken a look here, there's actually a lot of good information about all kinds of things. I am sure CSS from these docs is really good because their docs on almost everything web are fairly informative. So CSS layout might be what you're having trouble with, potentially. Because you said positioning, I assume then you mean like layout stuff. It's super complicated. So the biggest thing, keep your confidence level up and stick with it. Which I know is kind of like, what kind of help is that? It's like, well, that's really all there is. It's one of those, you gotta bang your head against the wall until eventually it clicks. And once it does, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I get this. And you'll understand that some of it's hard no matter what. And some of it will get a lot easier once you know the basics. Because I've worked with some people that are really, really sharp with CSS, and man, they just do things that just, whew, I don't know how they do it. Sean Stove, welcome. Thanks for that follow, much appreciated. And I should mention, if I butcher anyone's name, even if I've been butchering your name for weeks, don't worry about it. Just tell me, and I will try to say it better next time. Edge. Someone uses Edge? Aliens. Alright, so that change is back in here. We have this. So let's open up that controller again. Controller, tags controller, it's right here. There's our tag search. I want to call this thing tag search dot find, pass in the filter. What do we want this to return? Model objects? Yeah, we'll have it return model objects. So, whoops. Sorry about that, everyone. I don't know if I just made a horrible sound for you or not. There we go. Models. Tag search that. And why not make it async? Why not? Seems like the kind of thing that would be async. So this is going to be a tag of list of tag string filter. Whoops. There we go. Yeah, no, so exactly. So as I have started calling you Phil, S&B is correct. You just shorten to a nickname like Greg. So if I ever give you a nickname, please don't be offended. I have to say these things on stream, and we'll do my best. So some people get nicknames. Like, for example, I don't say the number 7 on the end of Janisku's name ever. And I'm probably butchering the name Janisku, but, well, I've never been corrected on that, so whatever I'm doing can't be quite that bad. Alright, so we have this, what do we want to do? I need a SQL connection here. So we'll make a SQL connection. Right? We want this to be wrapped inside of a using. And my connection string is going to be that for now. We'll extract out this dependency in a moment, but for now, let's just go grab that connection string, which should be in here. Will this one work? Yeah, I think this connection string will work as is. I'm pretty sure Dapper can use that one. Okay. And const string, connection string. So we'll pass that in like that. This is going to get extracted as coming in as an actual dependency, so that we can actually reference that. Welcome, Shazali, I'm guessing? And I apologize if I just butchered that, but welcome, thanks for following, much appreciated. Thanks, Phil. It's Jan Aisku. Got it, Jan Aisku. Stali, what happens if I don't wrap it into using? Well, then I actually have to do a bunch of work myself. So, all right. So I get myself a connection. Let me get. I'm gonna leave that there on the bottom for now, and just do this. So, essentially, in order to reference this, I have to do a couple of things. First off, let's see. I'm doing a query where I'm gonna get back multiple sets of data. So I want to say. First off, using Dapper, because I think it uses extension methods. Connection dot connection query of tag objects, which I think it can do. And then I pass in my SQL, which I'll type out. And then I think I to-list it. And I should be able to return directly from here. Can that async be a query? Can this query be a... Can this do async? Query async, that's the one I want. So I could just return this. Apparently I don't have to list that. Oh, if I didn't await it, I do. And in order to do that, I need to put my async on here. So this has to be an async method, and then I should be able to return that query. Why is it not like my to-list? Is this already a list? In that case, I think I have to do this. Var foo equals that. So we'll call this, instead of foo, this is going to be tags. So there's tags, and that's just going to be an IEnumerable of tag, which we're going to to-list right there. And that should work. Technically, I could return an IEnumerable instead of returning back a list, but that's just a minor difference in that. At least pizza was a word. Yes, SNB and his complaints about our word usage here. So we're gonna put that up there as a const up here. I'm not going to use that naming convention because it's not going to be a const very long. That's going to come in as a parameter of this object. We're going to need it to be a dependency of this. This will create our connection string, which we can then use to call that. This SQL, I think I'm going to pull out so it's not there, and we're going to call that SQL. Await query. Oh yeah, that's true, Josh. I could just put that inside of parens and then it would work. That's a good point. That's a good point. Oh, that's funny. ReSharper did that for me. Thank you, Tooling, for being awesome as usual. Now this SQL, since we're not doing anything special with it, I want to make this a constant string. And that will ensure that, you know, C# is going to treat this as like an unchanging value and not really do that as like an independent variable declaration type thing. So when I create this, I've got a couple of things I can do. So I want to do a basic bit of SQL, and yes, I'm going to follow the hilarious conventions. And for now, I'm not even going to do a top. We're just going to do this the crazy way because this is initial v1. And what's our table name called for this thing? I think it was called tags, but let me confirm that. DevStreamsDB table tags. So collect from tags. And then we need to say ooh, I now have a question about how I want to do this. Here's the thing I'm wondering about right now. So we're selecting from tags, and what I want to make sure that we do here is I want to make sure that we do a case insensitive compare. So I want to say where the... I'll show you the problem. Let's view our data. See, we have name. I'm going to need to do lowered name, I think. We're going to need to have a lowercase version of the name. So for now, I'm just going to say we're name, like, and we're going to say %%, sorry, my brain's not functioning here for a second. So we're going to do this, but the problem is this is not going to be a case-insensitive comparison, so that's the challenge we're going to run into. So should be like this, if I recall correctly. As I said, it's been a little while since I've used Dapper. This is the parameter object. Yeah, so I'm just going to create a new parameter list like so, and just put filter in here. So I'm going to give a quick explanation of how Dapper does its object parameter. So essentially, and this is the thing I like about it, is that what it does is it makes it so that when you pass in your parameters, you actually pass in an object. And because I'm in C#, what I can do here, and I'm going to pull this out just so you can see it, is I can, I can make a little dynamic like object that compiles. It does compile a type here, but it's not a type I've declared. So it makes one that has a property filter set equal to filter. So really, it's creating this right now. The way that I wrote this is what's really happening, is it's making this object that has, it's an anonymous object that has a property, a field called filter, that I've assigned to filter, and then inside of the query, when it's using it, it's going to take this object and use that as its parameter list. So instead of being a collection, it essentially leverages an object as if it were key value pairs, where the field name is the key and the value of the actual of the field itself is the value in your key value pair. So let me go ahead and put that back in line there. So that's essentially what's happening. I'm just creating it right here. So I kind of wanted to explain that because it is a weird one. I just kind of wanted to explain that because it's a little strange. Anyway, so there's a couple of things that we can do. Hang on. What are people saying in chat? You can specify the collation in a query expression. Case. I thought SQL was case insensitive in this context. Oh, okay, cool. In that case, doesn't matter. Yeah, it's probably case insensitive then. Cool. Glad you guys are on that ball then. And we'll just do it this way. We're about to find out anyway because we're doing it. So if I need to, like, I think I can upper them and that'll uppercase them automatically. If I remember correctly in my SQL, I could do something like this if I really had to. And I could put in the name, but I'm not going to do that right now because we'll find out if it just works. So we're calling that connection, creating that object, pulling the data. That should automatically close when I leave this, I believe, because I think it's, I don't remember if that still has any problems. And then lastly, if we jump over into the tags controller, we're passing in the tag search, pulling that model, and all right, let's give it a try. We'll find out if this works or not. Maybe it's gonna work, maybe it won't. Either way, we're gonna try it. That's the best way to see if something works or not. Because if people think it's just gonna work as is, I'm willing to give it a shot. So site should be running. Yep, thank you. I know the connection's not private, it's localhost. Okay, so nope. Alright, well, we got something. Let's figure out what it is. I'm actually going to run it over here instead with a debugger placed right there, and we'll find out what's going on. Because I think if we're running this in here, we might be able to get the SQL, maybe? We'll find out. Thanks, Visual Studio. What? That was a weird error message that I'm not used to seeing. Either way, it worked second time, so can't really complain too much. Alright, so I got my letter C in there. There's my capital C. First things first, let's toss a breakpoint here and see if we got back any model objects. Nope. Okay. So we didn't get back any model objects. So call into this with a filter of C. Let's go into here. I'm gonna drop a breakpoint here. Right there. Gonna hit F5 and take a look. Alright, so we jumped into this point. We passed in the filter of C, the select star from tags where name like that, percent, filter, percent. Now the question is whether or not that parameter actually replaced. Yeah, exactly, Fishing Dev. I'm not 100% whether or not I'll be able to get that either. Willie, welcome. Thanks for that follow. Much appreciated. And anybody else that's in chat that is enjoying the stream at all, please feel free to hit that follow button to get notified when we go live. And just so you know, all the content that we do here on the stream is out on GitHub. You can find it at github.com/devchatter, including this project, which is our Dev Streams project. We're building a community site for developer streamers, as there are now a lot of developer streamers, and we think it would be an awesome thing for the community. So feel free to check out this project, make some suggestions, additions, send us pull requests. We actually reviewed a pull request earlier today. If you want to chat with me or any of the other DevChatter people, best place to do this is check out our Discord. Okay, so taking a look at this, let's go ahead and we create our connection. We come in here, and this is, why is this getting called with null? So it's like it's getting called a second time from something with a null value, which is strange to receive. So this is the C one. So we are returning back our collection. Let's do this. I want to see that. How can I see the... Well, time to Google. Maybe I derped something. Okay, so... Dapper... See if there's anything weird based on this. Might have totally derped something, but we'll find out. Using like operator. Does Dapper support the like operator? Yeah, see, that's a hilarious question. Looks like the answer is yes. So... So this person is suggesting that we do this. Plutonin, sure, I'll take a look. Do 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 do. Using that, sure. Take a look. We're not table, we're tag, but let's paste it over here because it'll look a little nicer over here. So tag, so you're suggesting we do this. First off, I'm going to query async that, make it a tag, and we're going to do the same thing we did here before of wrapping that in a set of parens, like so. And say await that, and instead of this it's just going to be connection. So this is the code that you sent us, and search is filter. So this is your suggestion here, and that is to create filter as that. My concern here is that does this not become does this still end up being safe from SQL injection? I know this string could get messed up, but is the fact that this is a parameter, does that save it? Because it is a parameter, so it might still be safe from it, but I now want to test it and find out if it messes it up at all. So, I don't know. I guess we can try to SQL inject our own thing and see if it works. Also, I like the fact that you didn't do the full SQL, you just did the shortcut of like, hey, we're querying against this table, so it just assumes that we have the rest of that. Alright, well, we'll give it a shot. We're running this locally for now, so... why not SQL trace it and see what the T-SQL is? Yeah, Simon, that's what we were originally talking about, but we're thinking that I did my quick Googling and found that hang on. That it seems like Dapper probably does not support what we were trying to do, so we thought it made sense to give this a shot. What's the list of task of list of tag before the arguments for that method? The list of tags, sure, but why is that before the argument list? Spartan. This right here, that's defining the return value of this method, and it is a task of list of tag. The task, because it's async, that says that what you get back from this is really a task that you can wait for the completion of, and the task itself is going to get you back a list of tag when it finishes. Yeah, it's not the greatest syntax. The people suggesting that I just check out the tracing. Yeah, I could just check out the tracing, but I think this is, but I'm hoping that this is going to work. So give me a second while I check to see if this works. Nope. 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 Okay. I wonder why that didn't work. C. All right, so we've got C here. Yep, %C. Oh, derp. Right. We didn't actually tell it anything here. That was derpy, huh? See, look at this. When you look at this test search, it derp, derp, derpy, derp, derp, derpy, derpy, derp. So we're gonna say that. SQL. And then there's search. Okay, let's try it this way. Plutonian, yeah, we hit breakpoints. Yes, our princess is in another castle. I'm going to remove the breakpoints really fast just so we can see if this works at all, because I can't be catching those breakpoints and pulling out of context. Okay, so it does seem to work now. So it's working again, so it does work like this. Which now makes me wonder, what happens if I do this? What is it? We did double quotes. So we'll say percent double quotes so these match anything. Funny enough. Huh. Seems like it's not totally good. So it seems like the percent sign is ignored, but I'm not getting anything else. So I kind of want to ping someone to see whether or not that's an issue or not. I kind of want to ping a security expert and see if they can point a tool at it and just tell me, like, does SQL injection work against this? So essentially, is this gonna bite us? We'll have to find out. Alright, we'll call that okay for now, but I don't want to push this out until we're certain on that's an okay thing to do. Have tag search use Dapper. I don't know. These are the questions. So Ed, the whole point was to try and use Dapper instead of EF. So all of our other projects use Entity Framework, so we were like, let's try Dapper on this one. Since this is a prepared statement, you should not get any injection. That's what I was thinking, Spooky Coder, because of the fact that this is coming in like this. I'm pretty sure this will keep us safe, though the percent still is a funny one, that you can just pass that in and it's okay with it. I think I like that structure a little bit better. Reorg query. search query. And we'll do better stuff than this for now, but that's our like initial, hey, yeah, this does anything kind of check, and I will push that out now. Only small amounts of it, Ed. So in many ways, it's basically it's really more of like it's like an object hydration tool from databases is essentially closer to what it is. That's why we call it a micro ORM, although some people don't even like to call it that. It has some stuff it can do. Yeah. So for the basics, like if you want to do like I know that if you just want to find a thing by the key, you essentially can just call that and pass in the key and you're good. Some aspects of it work better than EF. It's essentially takes out some of the complexity that you'd get from other solutions. It's worth looking at and worth trying. So hence, why not? Alright, so I said we were going to extract that. So let's go ahead and do that. So this needs to come in differently. Thank you for confirming, Plutonin. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I have my theory on why... oh, okay. Yeah, it should still be creating a SQL parameter there. Yes, if we injected directly into the string, it would be a problem. But because we're still using a parameter, it hopefully will catch it. Either way, so let's go ahead and take a look at how we can set this up. So because we were using EF, we didn't really set up anything for a connection string because it kind of just knows to grab it. So we need to go into configure services. So we added a DB context. We configure cookie policy options. We need to configure a different one. Let's call this services.configure. This is cookie policy options. We could follow the same naming convention. We could call it database options, but I don't think I really like options. How about database settings? Right. So then once we create that, we need to tell it. So first I'm going to create this type so it doesn't yell at me anymore. Yeah, it'll be that one. So we're going to create the type. This needs to have get section. What is that section called in app settings JSON? Connection strings? Yeah, we could just call it connection strings. Just grab that as the section. And have default connection string be in there. which point I could rename this to connect. I could just call this connection strings. Something along those lines. Wouldn't be terrible. So let's do that. Database settings will have default connection. Database settings prop string default connection. Be my connection string. So that should configure that section available as one of the options now in this. Let's see. So then, if I do over in our tag search service, excuse me, a constructor, and I pass in an I options. Ooh, I need to move that database settings object. Up to here. There we go. So now inside of this service, I can say I options, which isn't going to work yet because I don't think I've got the correct net core stuff to be able to reference this. So maybe I don't want to I options, because now that I think about it, if I do the I options approach here, this only works inside of an ASP.NET Core project, which this technically is not. This is a net standard project. There's our database settings. And the I options doesn't exist. So there's our problem. We don't actually get that at that point. Do I want to pull this in and reference it or not? I guess we will. We'll reference Microsoft extensions. Ooh, no, I didn't want to reference it that way. No, 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 bad resharper. Bad resharper. No, no. Yeah. Not how we want to reference that. We want that from the NuGet package. We'll include that. So that should get us access to options, which we can now use in here to reference that. So, okay, quick explanation of what this is and how it's working. Essentially, in the IOC that's built into ASP.NET Core, it has a special status for configuration options. They kind of built that in because they know that's a thing that every project needs is configuration. So it has I options, and it will give you back a class that's hydrated with that type. That's kind of the idea. Once we have that, what we actually end up getting is this object that I can do one of these with. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and tell this to introduce the field, but that's not correct because that's not really what I want. I don't really want an I options of this. I think I want this. And then if you check this value, you'll see that this exists. There's a .value on here that should be of the correct type. And then that should give me this connection string, which no longer needs to be there. I'm going to rename this from database settings to DB settings, because that's a little shorter, and DB I do recommend, if you are going to use a, if you are going to abbreviate anything, use abbreviations that literally everybody actually does know. So in this case, people really do know that DB means database, and if you use it for anything other than database, you're probably going to get people confused. So DB is an okay abbreviation. Be careful about too many abbreviations. It can get weird, but that's a really well-known one, so people won't get confused by that. Alright, so that in theory works. Is this project running? Hang on, let me check and see. Streams project, yes, it's running. So I'm going to stop the site. And I'm actually going to run it over here. Because I can. Why not? And then while that's going, I'm going to load it up. Whoa. Build error, so I'm going to actually build it over here. What? Did it not actually make the database reference? Maybe I need to build? Ooh, version conflict. Ah, that's what happened. I was gonna say, it wasn't indicating an error. Okay, so this is the fun stuff of having different versions of different stuff. So dependency injection abstractions, we're not using the same version. Let's take a look, and I apologize for that being small and now highlighted, everyone. Okay, so in our Dapper project, Microsoft extensions 2.2, and then that one's 2.1. So I need to reference the 2.11s instead of the 2.20 in this project, if I can. So let's take a look at this one. Let's go back to the previous version, see if we can't get it to change to this one. So what you need to remember is that some packages get updated further than others, so I should have checked before I did that which version was installed of other things and thought about that before I made that change. So that's on me, and I think this will build now because we are referencing the correct version. So we actually had to drop back because our ASP.NET project is not running the latest version of everything. So that is what that little change was. Okay, there's our connection string, there's that. All right, let's run the project now, and hopefully it will be error-free this time. And assuming it is. Boom. Whoops. 5001. There we go. Go to this page and C# JavaScript TypeScript. Woohoo! Awesome. All right, so that piece is working. Let's check on the My Channels page. Work here too. Okay, great. So those all seem to still work. So I feel confident that this can go in. So this is remove hard-coded connection string. See, we deleted that and we switched to a an actual option there, and that worked out nicely. Yay. All right. So cool. So that is our first piece of Dapper that we have in here. The next place that I want to start trying to put it in a little bit is actually some of the easier stuff. I want to try putting it into some of our CRUD pages, because I know a number of our viewers have been eager for us to start using Dapper in our project because they want to take a look at Dapper. Because well, some of them they like Dapper, other ones I think want to see it as a comparison to EF, and the best way to do that is just to see some of it in real use in a real application. And as many of you know, our other applications here on the project, on DevChatter, use EF Core, so it's a good place to take a look. So a couple of things I want to mention. If you are new here, welcome. Be sure to hit the follow button so you know when we go live. We actually stream on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. If you want to take a look at any of our code that we do here on the stream, you can actually find all of it over at github.com/devchatter. And we are open to pull requests, so if you have strong opinions about any of this stuff, feel free to make suggestions, changes, send us what your thoughts are. And if you want to chat with me or any of the other DevChatter viewers, best place to do that is to join our Discord. Not a lot of activity during the stream, but outside the stream, there are good conversations about various types of technology. So if you're interested in any of that, go ahead and check out our Discord. It really is a good place. If you want to check out any of our videos here on the stream, we have about a year's worth of video archives, as our stream is now over a year old. Tuesday was actually our 1-year anniversary of the DevChatter stream. We have archives in our video section here on Twitch, as well as the full archives going back to the beginning of the stream over on YouTube. Those videos are on a little bit of a delay, so best thing to do is obviously show up live, because then you can be involved in the discussions. But other than that, they are all out there. And I want to thank all of you for showing up, and suggest that that you can follow me on Twitter. And I want to be sure I thank our moderators for helping out as usual. They're always awesome, and all the great support from all the people that subscribe, cheer, anything like that, whether you're chatting or just hanging out with us. Either way, it's all awesome. We really do appreciate it. Sadly, I have as everyone on my Discord knows, I've got a whole sick family here that I need to go help out. You guys probably you might have been able to hear my son making some noise in the background a little bit ago. He's got a bit of a fever, and my wife is sick as well, but hey, that also meant that I didn't have to watch him during the time of the stream, so I got to stream today, which was good. But I do want to make sure that I keep it down to the regular stream time and not go long today, so we're going to cut it at about the 2-hour mark. And I do want to make sure that I roll our credits so I can be sure that I thank everybody that really does help us out here. So Carrie, thanks for those cheers, and as I mentioned, our moderators, S&B, thanks for hanging out. I think you were the one mainly doing moderation stuff today. And all of these wonderful people who followed us today, thank you for that. And our resubscribes from Gareth and Coated Beard. Someone else did too, I thought. I think I missed one. Maybe it was just them. I thought we had 3 today. Maybe it was just 2. Either way, thanks for hanging out today, everyone. I had a lot of fun. I really am serious. If you do want to chat with us, joining our Discord is the best place. It's where you get the most notifications about what's going on with the stream. And I'm looking forward to seeing everyone Saturday. Yeah, I should be around for Saturday's stream. Assuming this plague doesn't, take me out. I will be very careful, and I will see you all next time. So take care. Have a good one. Happy coding.